I'm Kim Anderson from Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service, Oklahoma State University. And the one thing I've learned is that the only fair way to buy wheat is to grade it accurately. In this video, let's talk about sample and special grade factors. If I'm an elevator manager, I do not want to deliver a load of wheat to a destination and get surprised that it turns out that it's sample or that it's got special grade factors that's going to cost me some money. When you're looking for these factors, when that truck pulls up on the scales, you want to visually check that load to see if you see any irregularities. You want to pull a representative sample, and when that sample gets into the grading station, you want to check it for sample and special grade factors. You want to determine the moisture. Then you want to measure out about 1,025 gram work sample. You want to check that sample for sample grade factors and special grades. You want to put it in the dockage machine and remove the dockage. Be sure and check those dockage pans for insects, for stones, for garlic, for other factors that could lower that grade or to make it sample or special grade. You want to check that clean sample for odor. You want to, when you weigh out your 30 gram FM sample, you want to check it for sample grade factors visually. And when you weigh out that 15 gram sample, you want to check it out for sample grade factors. Essentially, every step in the grading process, you're always looking for problems in that grain, always looking for sample and special grade factors. If you look at a list of them, it's any grade factor that exceeds number 5, your test weight, your damage, your shrunken and broken, your foreign material. Looking for animal filth, 2 or more, broken glass, 1 or more, stones, 4 or more, large stones on the load, or 4 or more in the work sample. You got the odor. Any of these factors that make it sample grade, you want to be on the lookout for. On odors, now odor is a very difficult thing to determine sometimes. Now, if it's got a strong musty or sour or commercially objectionable foreign odor, you can grade that, but it may be at the margin. And when it's at the margin, sometimes you have a problem calling that. And it doesn't matter. Sometimes you may, well, is it musty if it's sour? If it has an odor, it's sample grade, and that's the important part. It's nice to be able to accurately call it musty or sour or COFO. You go through the COFO, the fertilizer, skunks. I got a sample of skunk odor wheat once. I said, boy, this will be really good when we do the grain grading schools. But the skunk dissipated. After about a week, it was gone. And so skunk may be an odor that if you aerate it, that you can get rid of it. But some elevator managers that's tried to blend out odors. That's a very, very difficult thing to do. But you want to check for odor. You want to do it with your clean sample. You want to look for animal filth, rat pellets, mice pellets, bird droppings, any kind of animal filth. 2 or more in the work sample in that 1,000 gram sample, and you've got sample grade. 1 or more pieces of glass, just 1 piece of glass in that work sample, and you've got sample grade wheat. Stones, 4 or more, are 0.1% by sample weight. And now these stones are smaller than they look in this slide. I blew them up so that they'd fit on the screen and look nice. I should have put a dime on there to get the size. But all of these stones are small enough to go into your hand probe or be pulled up with your pneumatic probe. Unknown foreign substance. Again, these are larger than they look. These pellets here, these are 1919 fertilizer. This is 4400. So you can see your fertilizer pellets there and get an idea of the different size. Over here, there's your 1919 pellet. These happens to be insecticide pellets. You got your small stones there, but you get an idea. 4 or more of these in the work sample, and you've got sample grade wheat. Well, let's watch Brent Hibbett's as he shows us how to pick foreign material.
I'm Brent Hibbets from Enid Grain Inspection. We're an official FGIS inspection agency, and today we're talking about foreign material. In foreign material, we start with a 50 gram portion that's dockage free and free of shrunken and broken. Now, we're going to go through this portion and we're looking for anything that's not wheat. That could be joint grass, rye, wild buckwheat, anything, any other grains that could possibly be mixed in the sample. So how I'm going to start is I'm going to go through this portion, this 50 gram portion. I'm pulling out anything that's not wheat. And then when I'm finished, I'm going to weigh my separation out, and I'm going to figure my percentage to the nearest 1/10%, and that's how we'll certify the FM result.
Now you notice Brent, when he's picking this out, he started with a 50 gram sample. Most elevators will use a 30 gram sample on picking their product. You also notice that Brent's picking on a buff colored surface. He wants a surface that's contrasty so that he can see the FM, or if he's picking damage. You notice the picks. What I use for a pick, now you can get a pick from seed burrow equipment or other equipment suppliers. What I know I get is a 6-inch surgical pick. You can get those at medical supply stores and then grind them down to a sharp point. You also, Brent showed you how to put it in the stack and pull out a line of kernels so that you can not looking and hunting and picking out. You're looking at a few kernels at a time, and that way you can easily pick out your foreign material. And now let's look at the foreign material as you're weighing it out in the elevator. You're going to weigh out a 30 gram sample, and you can look in this sample. Now here's an IDK, insect damage kernel. That is not foreign material. That'll come out. But you got sorghum, you got some trash, you got some bulbs over here. You got some non-wheat substance, so you will pick those out. You're pulling a few kernels over at a time and picking out the FM. So you got your sorghum, you got your rye. Rye can be a problem in buck, but your little sharp, pointy kernels here. You got your sorghum, you got your other non-wheat items. And so you'll pull those out, you'll weigh those, and calculate your percentage foreign material. Now let's listen to Brent talk about picking and showing us how to pick damage.
I'm Brent Hibbets with Enid Grain Inspection. Now we're talking about picking damage in wheat. In our office, we pick damage on a 15 gram portion that's dockage free. When you're picking damage, you're looking for several different types of possible damages that could be in the wheat. It could be black tip fungus, sprout damage, insect bored kernels, germ damage, frost damage. So there's a lot of different damages you have to be looking for while you're picking the damage in the wheat. We use line prints to, as basically a line on to see if certain kernels function or meet the criteria for damage. So if I have any questionable kernels, I'll pull out these prints and see if they meet the criteria for, say, black tip damage or scab damage or frost damage. But how I'm going to start is I'll have my 15 gram portion, and I'll go through it, and I may pull kernels for black tip or scrape the germs on certain kernels to see if possibly they could be germ damaged. I'm watching out for any kernels that may have mold on them also, because if they have 50% coverage of surface mold, that functions as a damage also. So there's a lot of different things to be looking for while you're picking damage. But once you go through your portion, you're going to do the same thing as you do with the FN. You weigh up however many kernels you find, and you figure your percentage and round it to the nearest 1/10%, and that's how you certify damage in wheat.
Again, notice the buff colored work surface, the picks, the well lit area. You want to make sure you've got adequate light to pick. Actually, I'd say more than adequate light. You need a nice bright workspace to pick out foreign material and damage. And in picking damage, I used to go to FGIS every year before the grain grading schools for training. And when we got to picking damage, I could never pick as much damage as the licensed inspectors. I'd say on the average, or maybe get around 50% of it. So if I'm an elevator manager and I'm receiving stored grain, or I've got stored grain, I think I've got a damage problem, I'm going to get a sample to a licensed inspector and get that inspected and checked by a professional, because picking damage is extremely difficult. So what Brent did was he weighed out a 15-gram sample. You start picking that sample, a few kernels at a time, picking out the damaged kernels. You can see that he got sprout damage. He got split, probably with mold down in there, looks like. Got insect damage kernel. He's got a heat damage kernel here. He's got black tip, germ damage. Probably not sprout, probably germ here, but he's got picked out these damaged kernels, and he's going to weigh those and calculate the percent damage on that 15-gram sample. Now, USDA has some websites that you can go to on the internet. This first site gives you the steps for the grading process with some videos in there for running some of the equipment. The site I like really well for line slides. Now, your slides on the computer are not going to be as accurate as Brent's slides, the official slides, but they will get you in the ballpark. But alms.usda.gov/book/wheat is an excellent site for looking at line slides. Now, we picked wheat. Of course, you can do barley, canola, corn, sorghum, soybeans. But down here, wheat, let's say that we want to check our sprout damage. So we load that up, and it tells you, like A here, it says that the germ cover is broken open and the sprout is broken off, but that's still sprout damage, or it's open and the sprout's coming out the bottom, or it's open and the sprout's coming off the top, or both the germ cover and the sprout has been broken off and it's got a horse color. So you can go to these and they give you the instructions. You've got the black tip fungus, just check it right fast, and we'll show you some more. And Brent was talking about this, but it's got to be that much over the germ. It's got to go all the way around the collar. It's got to go down the crease, and it gives you precise instructions on how to grade it for black tip fungus. So these are good sites, good reference sites. You might want to write down that URL. Now let's look at some damage factors. You got IDK, or insect damage kernels. Remember, 32 or more of these in 100 out of 100 grams makes it sample grade. You can also pick it for damage, so that adding on the damage got to be greater than 15%. You'll notice that it's got to be bored and tunneled by the insects. The middle one is chewed, but if you'll look on the other side, you'll see that it's got a hole in it and that it's a hollow kernel. And so those are insect bored or insect damaged kernels. Now, you can have insect chewed kernels where the brand coat's been chewed off or the germ's been chewed out. These are not IDK and are not damaged kernels. They're insect chewed kernels. So you do not want to pick these kernels as damage. Treated or pink wheat, this is a dangerous product. It's classified as an unknown foreign substance. 4 more of those. You've got a sample grade, but pink wheat is also a food and drug issue. And if you've got treated, not pink wheat, but treated wheat it can be mold. A couple of years ago, we had a pink mold on our wheat, but still it was an unknown foreign substance, or you could grade it at 50% or more. It's a mold, but you want to be very careful with pink wheat. I like to tell people that are running the dump pits or grading wheat, if they see pink kernels, alert the manager immediately. If you're dumping, shut down that load. I know one elevator that got pink wheat and a bin of wheat, and he had to destroy 4 carloads of wheat when he tried to ship that with some pink wheat in it. So you want to be very, very careful with treated and pink wheat. Sprout damage, we went over that. The first kernel, the coat is open, the germ's been broken, or the sprout's been broken off. The second, both the coat and the sprout are missing. The sprout's coming out the bottom, sprout's coming out the top on the other one. Now, sometimes you'll have that germ coat cracked open without the sprout protruding, that is not sprout damage. The sprout has to be visible coming out of the germ. Black tip fungus, we talked about that. You got to have this much coverage over the germ. It's got to come around the collars of the germ all the way around. It's got to go into the crease for it to be called and classified as black tip fungus and damaged kernels. This is your line slide that you can load that we looked at earlier. Not fungus, but mold on the kernel, 50% or more on the coverage. It has to be 15% or more coverage to be germ damage. Or if you got a piece of kernel that's got mold on it, then it is germ damage. Mold-like substance, you may not have any on the outer surface, but you remove the germ cover, and you've got mold inside there. You may have germ damage, and we'll look at that slide in a little bit. You got to be very careful scraping that cover off that you don't damage or remove the mold inside the germ. Other damage, you've got, of course, IDK here with mold in it. That is damaged kernel or IDK. You got a split with mold in it. That's damaged kernel. You got an insect chewed kernel here that's got mold in it. That'll come out as other damage. Wheat germ damage. This is a difficult item to pick. These are the ones that I'd get about half of it when I was trying to pick germ damage. You've got to remove the cover over the germ to look for discoloration. It's got to be this brown or more for it to be germ damage. This line slide will give you the instructions on how to call that. But and what I look for is on the germ cover. Often you'll have a little discoloration on that crease in the germ cover there. If you got that, then you'll want to scrape it to see if you've got damage. Like I said, if I think I've got germ damage or damaged kernels, I'm going to send it to an official inspection agency and have them check it for me. Heat damage has got to be this dark on the outside, and on the inside, as shown on the slide, you'll want to do a cross section, take a razor blade or X-Acto knife and cut it in half, and look at the inside to make sure it's discolored to this extent. Blight or scab, you know, that dull, lifeless, chalky look, just an ugly looking kernel. It's got to be this degree or more. If you can't call it for blight or scab, you want to make sure and check it for mold, and especially check the germ, take off the germ coat, and see if it's got mold in the germ. Looking at special grade factors, infested, 2 or more insects injurious to grain. Looks like these little critters have been in this load for a while, or this bin for a while, and they've had quite a diet and just really hollowed out those kernels. 2 or more insects that are injurious to grain for it to be a special grade factor of infested. So what on the grade sheet, what you'll put, say it grades US number 2, you'd put US number 2 infested. You may want to note how many live insects were in the sample, but you want to note 2 or more live anywhere, then you've got it infested, and that's in the work sample. Or in the lot as a whole. I was talking to a trucker this last week, and he said he was in a convoy of 3 trucks. His the middle truck said he's the only one that got pulled at the scales for infested, and that he got sent to a separate unit. And this is a case of where in shipping out and loading out, you want to be sure and watch for insects injurious to the grain, live insects, or you've got a special grade factor and you've got a problem when you reach your destination. Another special grade, ergody, 0.05% or more. You've got a special grade. It'd be a US number 2 ergody. You probably want to note the percentage on that. Garlic, 2 or more garlic bulbs of any size in 1,000 grams makes it garlicky. Probably want to note how many garlic bulbs on that. Smutty, 30 smut balls in 250 gram sample. When you're doing shrunken and broken, you measured out with the Carter Day, you measured out 250 grams. That's a good place to look for your smutting. If you see it, you've already got it weighed out to count it after you've taken out your SBK. So you've weighed out a 30-gram sample and picked it for FM and weighed that out and checked it to see if it what impact it has on the grade, and if it reaches the sample grade amount of on the FM 5% or more, and it reaches sample grade. On the damaged kernels, it's got to be greater than 15%, but you pick those out and weigh them out and check for those factors. When you're calculating the grain, sample grade, less than 51-pound test weight, heat greater than 3%, damaged kernels greater than 15%, form material greater than 5, shrunken and broken greater than 20, defects, the sum of these three greater than 20, or these special grade factors down here like contains 32 or more insects in 100 grams, or 4 or more stones, or it's got a musty sour odor, or it's a heating and low quality. You got problems in that product that can cause it to be sample grade. You don't want to be surprised by any of these factors or that you're not aware of when you reach the destination. You really want to know what you've got in the bin and what you've got going in the bin. So you need to keep this list handy. You need to train the personnel on how to spot and how to determine if you've got sample grade factors and to what degree you've got them in the product. The one thing you don't want is to ship wheat to get it at a destination thinking it's number 1 or number 2, and it turns out to be a special grade or a sample grade. And remember, the only fair way to buy wheat is to grade it accurately.